Hello, I am talking to you tonight. It's, I guess, going on 1 o'clock in the morning. We're into Tuesday. I think it's the longest day of the year. And I just read where NATO is trying to get its members together and forcing a unilateral attack on Russia if they do any cyber attacks. Now, this might sound like it has a lot of bravado, but I am detecting a total naivety of the American public as to what a war with Russia would involve. And I say that because I hear people saying when we're involved in Syria, why don't we just blow the frig out of Russia? And, they don't understand that they're a very capable, determined country that could render us with some real issues. Now, I know you guys have been watching a lot of football and stuff like that, and boxing, and get into this stuff. Wow, we kicked their ass. In nuclear war, there's no such thing as kicking ass, because the effects of a lot of atomic bombs would totally alter the weather to the point where you have a nuclear weather. The good news, a nuclear winter, I would say. The good news is that apparently a nuclear war could be survivable. Look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But getting back on task here, NATO, this is not some right-wing report that I'm giving you. It's basically what they said, that there's a coalition of NATO, and if you're a member of NATO, you're obligated to join in the attack if somebody unelected by us could get us into World War III with the Russians over, quote, a cyber attack. Now, first of all, if Bill Gates didn't intentionally put different opportunities in his operating system, a lot of this hacking, cyber attacks would not be possible. And so we can thank old Bill Gates, who has been working with the CIA and all that. They're trying to work on Apple now to get access to their stuff, even though they could get access to that phone the entire time, but it was just an act to get more information and take away more and more of our rights. Let's get back to the Magna Carta. I think it was 1215. They basically said that you had the right to see your accuser when you face trial and get a chance to ask questions and have a jury there and all this since 9/11 disappeared. They can sequester you, but I digress. So now we're in a situation where we're, in theory, minutes away from nuclear war, and, our elected officials are not saying anything on this. Now, look, I'm 68. I don't know. Maybe I have 12 years left or whatever, but I've lived a good percentage of my life. I have some children who are just getting into the prime of their life. I have one grandson who is like 2 years old. And, a nuclear war is something I don't even want to think about that. I mean, we're all going to die eventually. The planet's going to, go, but, I think that people should get a chance to actually enjoy life. Well, getting back to this again. I don't know if you remember the Syrian conflict. Anybody know where Syria is? Well, Saudi Arabia wants to run pipelines from Syria, and the United States has created ISIS to help take out Syria. The United States, through NATO, now this is the same NATO that we're talking about and wants to start World War III with Russia, they took out Muammar Gaddafi, destroyed Libya, which was the most prosperous country in Africa. And their big problem was that they wanted to go to a gold standard of their own currency. They didn't want to screw around with the U.S. dollar. And not using the U.S. dollar in that region is lethal. Saddam Hussein, he was selling oil in euros. Well, no. You don't sell oil in euros. You sell them in dollars. So consequently, we had to take him out. The fact that he was our boy, that's another matter. But we had to take him out and totally disrupt the entire region. We basically gave ISIS all kinds of weapons to go into Libya. NATO, who are owned and controlled by the banks and Goldman Sachs and the Bilderberg Group. All of a sudden, they were high and mighty, and they want to take out this evil Muammar Gaddafi, who had things under control. His people were doing wonderful, and we went in there and totally destroyed that country. And as a result, our ambassador got killed. ISIS got all these Stinger missiles or whatever the hell they are to take out airplanes. We had 3 brave men who died trying to defend this. And all during this time, Obama had to go play golf or fundraising, so he didn't want to get involved. Hillary Clinton, the ambassador there, Stevens, wanted help. He wanted reinforcements. They ignored him. He was trying to buy back all kinds of weapons to get him away from ISIS. And I guess we want to support ISIS. Anyhow, this whole thing is so corrupt. And you got the 9/11 Commission, 28 pages of that we can't see, involving Saudi Arabia funding these terrorists, actually implicating Bush, a stand down of our thing. So 9/11 took place with our understanding, and it all helped to make old man Bush's prophecy in terms of the new world order, which now has all kinds of treaties which we have nothing to do with. And now, because of NATO, who frigged up Libya and helped get a basis for ISIS, they're no freaking good. And in case you don't understand, this election coming up involving Hillary Clinton, who's been funded by Saudi Arabia, the Bushes have been funded by Saudi Arabia. Why do you think they're so desperate to keep Donald Trump out of office? Because if he gets in, a lot of these guys are going to jail. I mean, this is treason what they've done. And Trump offers, really, the first time in maybe, I don't know, maybe even since Kennedy, that we're going to get to the bottom of this thing. And even maybe even the Kennedy assassination. You see, Kennedy was screwing around with the Federal Reserve. He was printing his own money. He even wanted to look into the Israeli nuclear facilities. He wanted them have them register as foreign lobbyists, which apparently they weren't too happy about. There were a lot of people who were pissed off at JFK, and then of course he didn't want to get fully involved in the Vietnam War, which meant that the military-industrial complex, which Eisenhower warned us about, wasn't going to make money. And then again, Lyndon Johnson, or I should say Lady Bird Johnson, was going to make money if we weren't in a war. She had Lady Bird Construction. Eventually, when she died, she was the largest single shareholder of Halliburton. Okay, that evil company, Rumsfeld and Cheney and the whole thing. So, anyway, let's get back to this situation with NATO. We fund most of NATO, which is crazy, and now they're going to start World War III on us. Now, you have to understand that that's you. Where's my thing here? You're not needed anymore. We're not needed anymore. We serve no function. We basically are just getting in the way. Now, the Sobrinsky guy who worked for Clinton as his security advisor, he said in his public record, he said it's easier to kill 1 million people than it is inherently easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control them. Now, you think about all the debt of unfunded this, unfunded that. It's going to be mayhem when all this stuff hits the fan and there's no money to pay anybody. It's more merciful just to kill off 80% of 90% of the population and not have to worry about pensions and Medicare and Social Security benefits and stuff, which the bank have all obfuscated their duty, and they're printing money that isn't backed. We're on the verge of financial disaster, and maybe a nice nuclear war that they can precipitate, because, like I said, the banks own NATO. Goldman Sachs owns NATO. Goldman Sachs will benefit from the carbon tax. This whole environmental thing, as far as global warming, is a bunch of BS, because where I'm making this video tonight was under 1,000 feet of ice, maybe 12,000 years ago. So if you could explain what the hell happened there, then maybe we can talk about some other things. But like I said, NATO, get this. says they have the ability, they have the obligation to attack Russia with weapons, okay, because of any cyber attacks that they may do. Now, these cyber attacks could be totally fabricated. These cyber attacks could be actually planted by us. We could send agents over there. And it's a good way to take out any country. Say, hey, they're doing cyber attacks. Boom. No trial. No. Now, the other thing is interesting. I would like you to dwell on tonight. Are you saying that the United States does not do any cyber attacks? Sweet, innocent, the United States, CIA, and the whole thing that kill people, regime change. Matter of fact, Wesley Clark, when he went back to the Pentagon after 9/11, they showed him a paper showing their plan on taking out 7 countries in 5 years. Now you have to understand, when he went to the Pentagon right after 9/11, one of his the guy who took his place came up to him and he said, "You know, this is unbelievable. They're going to attack Iraq. And they had nothing to do with anything. They had nothing to do with anything. The generals knew this." Now, something you should be enlightened in is the fact that when we had this line in the sand with Syria and all that bogus gas attacks on their own people, that wasn't them. That was a false flag. Matter of fact, they caught Turkey planning to launch missiles from Syria into Turkey so they could go into Turkey. They caught them red-handed. No one said anything about that. Oh, they would never do anything. Turkey's selling all this stolen oil that ISIS has and making money. We're dropping leaflets to warn these ISIS people to get out of the trucks so they don't get hurt. Get hurt, I want to kill the son of a bitch. So anyhow, getting back to this thing, I don't think you understand that the reason why we didn't send cruise missiles into Syria is the military wouldn't do it. They said, I don't think we're going to do that. I think that would cause World War III over what? And they didn't do it. And a lot of generals got shit-canned. A lot of people got shit-canned. So now we're getting more and more of these crazies in our military that have no military experience. They're just political appointments. Kind of reminds me of, Nazi Germany with Hitler when he appointing all his friends to be generals and crap like that. But let's go back further on Syria. So the U.S. military stood down. And that's the only reason why we're alive today. Because they knew if we went in there, that would mean that Russia would have to defend them. Iran would have to defend them. And there was a whole bunch of stuff and then Israel would probably be involved. And then we have to defend Israel. And so we would have a nuclear war. So they said, no, thank you. Now it gets better than this. Apparently, the military was so frustrated with Obama and his whatever his leanings are, pro-ISIS, anti-America. I mean, his parents hated the United States. You understand? His father was a freaking communist. His mother was a socialist. They sent him to send her. She went to some sort of socialist school up in wherever the hell she lived. And these people, they hate America. They hate America. So, anyhow, our military got so frustrated that they said, screw this. They started feeding information where ISIS was in Syria to the Germans, knowing that the Germans would share it with the Soviet Union, or actually I should say Russia, and Syria. And that's when the Syrians and the Russians started bombing the crap out of ISIS, and they're going, no mas, and they're fleeing out. Now, we had the opportunity when they fled, and when to take them out, when they went into Iraq, they're all lined up. We could have sent a couple of C-130s to take out the whole thing in a couple of minutes. Did we do that? No, because we're supporting them. And George Bush, remember when he said either you're for them or either you're for us or you're for the terrorists? He never said a goddamn thing about this whole ISIS thing and supporting Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and all that sort of stuff. No, we're funding these people. We always had. They're our boys. And the whole thing freaking stinks. And unfortunately, the average American could care less. They're more interested in their lottery tickets. They're more interested in their football team winning, baseball team winning a fight or something, or who's dancing with the stars. In the meantime, life as you know on this planet is about to be extinguished because NATO, for whatever reason, wants to frig with the friggin' Russians. And let me tell you something. The Russians are the last people you want to frig around with. And they've been very good. When anybody who knows anything about history and the Cuban Missile Crisis, they had missiles in Cuba and we got pissed off. and we were ready to go to war over this thing. Granted, we took out missiles out of Turkey, and they took missiles out of Cuba, so it was kind of a wash. But we are putting all kinds of missiles up on the Ukraine border. We're doing everything to piss these people off. And Putin has diffused a lot of this stuff. But you push an animal against the wall, injure him, and he's going to strike back. We're playing with fire, my friends. We are playing with fire, and I don't know what I have to do to get your attention on this. And I know you love Hillary Clinton, and she's the smartest woman in the world, and yet she basically used a server. And the reason why she's not in jail is because Obama was using that same server, sending her classified information. He is legally just as guilty as she is for using an unsecured server. You get that? So obviously, if she goes down, he has to go down, and she's told him that. So this whole thing, the reason why the cyber attack is really coming up to speed here is because the Russians have all of those emails. One of the emails sent by one of Clinton's confidants, Bloomberg or Bloomington or whatever his name is, said that he had two sources saying that the attack on Benghazi that killed Ambassador Stevens was funded by Saudi Arabia. You get that? Saudi Arabia again. The 28 pages of the 9/11 Commission. They funded those goddamn pilots that flew those planes into the buildings. You still don't get it. You still don't get it. You're in a state of disbelief. Your head would explode if you even comprehended 1/10 of the crap that is going on and how we're just being used. And they don't care about you folks. They got fluoride in the water. They got that Roundup crap in the water supply. Women are getting breast cancer. The cancer rate is skyrocketing. No one's saying a thing. No, what we do is we march against cancer, drinking plastic bottles that contain the stuff that gives you breast cancer. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. We got artificial dyes in our food products for kids, all the candies that for kids. They're giving the kids fluoride, which is reducing their IQ. I mean, if you really look into this is not conspiracy crap. So, as Brzezinski said, it's easier to kill 1 million people than to control them. And now they're trying to control the internet so you can't get this information. So it's really, truly amazing. I listen to Alex Jones, and I have to ferret out what's really, really true and pertinent, what's exaggerations. But he does lead you on, between him and Matt Drudge, into some very interesting things, which you can look up. Okay, I've had people who are pissed off that I have an Infowar.com sticker on my back of my truck, and they're kind of insinuating that they wanted me to buckle down and get on with the program and allow these son of a bitches to take over the United States. And Trump is no saint, but I tell you what, we stand a lot better chance with Trump really stopping the whole takeover of the United States by these different treaties that they're dumb treaties. Everything's dumb. The open borders is dumb. Bringing in these ISIS people through these refugees is totally insane. Europe, anytime they speak up in Europe about what's going on, they throw these people in jail for saying, "Hey, stop raping me" and stuff. It's getting like that now. They can't. If you can't see what's going on now, maybe we deserve to be destroyed. Because we're just at this point we've degenerated to like lemmings. Even lemmings, I think, probably have a little more get up and go than the average American when they're looking at it. But there's a bunch out there who are saying, "Okay, enough already. Trump is not the greatest person in the world, but I tell you, if I'm going to roll the dice, I'll roll the dice with him." And the people who are afraid of him getting in probably shouldn't worry too much because they're going to kill him. They killed Kennedy for far less, okay? And he was killed. He was blown away. It wasn't just Lee Harvey Oswald who happened to know Jack Ruby and all this sort of stuff. No. They will take out Trump. He'll be very lucky to make it to Election Day, and he'll be very lucky that we're not in some sort of martial law thing so we don't even have election. The Bilderberg group, these people who choose your presidents, they're very nervous. And everybody says, "Oh, that Trump's, he's rich. Let me tell you, he's a pauper compared to these people with the Federal Reserve, the Bilderberg's group and the whole thing, and the bank, the people who own the banks. I mean, this is They got us coming and going. They print this money, and then we pay for it. And the bankers are too big to jail, too big to fail. This is totally out of control. So if you do one thing in your life, just one thing in your life, why don't you contact your congressmen and your senators and write a letter to the editor and get on talk radio and say, what about this threat by NATO to attack the Russians and start World War III over cyber attacking? Because I cannot believe that we're not doing cyber attacks from so. I can't believe it. Matter of fact, Israel did one on the reactors over in Iran. They were proud of it. This stuff goes on. And let me tell you, going to war is not fun. This is serious crap. And Germany's getting all upset how we're provoking the Ruskies. And I tell you what, I respect Vladimir Putin. He's a good man. He's kicked Monsanto out. Monsanto that's killing us with the GMO crap. It's making us all sterile. Anyhow, I think I've said enough. I hope at least one person actually takes some sort of action. And by the way, this whole gun control thing. I don't know if you've read the preamble to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or whatever it is. They talk about the whole concept. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary, okay, to get your freedom back. They're talking about, ultimately, if your government gets so screwed up, it's your obligation and right to install a government that upholds the values of the Constitution. They are trying to destroy the Constitution. So, when they're saying you don't need AK-47s, right? That's a bunch of bullshit. That is a total bunch of bullshit. Because without decent weaponry, that whole concept of taking your country back, which is in the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I'm too tired to remember which one it is. But they're circumventing the Constitution. When they say unimpinged, that's what what that is. But they impinge it. So, unless we do something and get out and vote, not be afraid to be heckled by some people who are suicidal, we are doomed, and maybe we deserve to be doomed if we don't have the will. We have a pope who now he's very popular because he said that Jesus Christ is just like ISIS. Now, I don't think Jesus Christ went out and killed too many people. He didn't behead them, I don't think, for not believing like he did. And for the Pope to say that he was a bartender, he was a bouncer. Excuse me, he wasn't even a bartender. He was a bouncer at some sort of club. A bouncer. He has as much moral authority to talk about God and religion as I do or any of you do. He was a bouncer. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then he got into, I think he was a lab tech or something, and now all of a sudden he knows what's good for us. So wise up, do something, contact your senator, your congressman. There's no reason why you can't do it. You can fax them, you can email them. You can use faxzero.com and send a fax to everybody. You can get on CapWiz and send letters to every paper. I doubt you will. Most people can't come up with a cogent thought, and most people just have talking points that they get, telling how Donald Trump's supposed to be a racist, and yet he's far from that. He's no saint, but he employs people. Think about the taxes that are generated by all the people he employs. Anyway, good night, folks. I hope we're still here in a week or two. Hope we haven't gone to war. You can do something about it. If you don't try to do something about it, guess what? You deserve it. You really do. We all deserve it then. Because we're not really worthy of surviving if, in fact, we're not willing to see a real danger and just, bend over and say, do it. Anyhow, bye-bye.